Okay, guys. Final on the AFR Enforcer clone heads. 20816. I was able to squeeze a tiny back cut on the intakes. No back cut on the exhaust. I tested it with a back cut. It was not good. If you take a good look at the chamber, you can see it's textured in some spots and it's baby smooth in other spots. It's all for a reason. Eric did a nice video on textures and what he feels they do in certain spots. It's quite a good video. These turned out pretty nice. I'm relatively happy with them. They did take more time to finesse than I would have expected, but they turned out nice. I think he'll be very happy with them. All right, I put a coat of oil on everything because these are gonna get shipped out soon, real soon. Like they're gonna get put in plastic bags and put in the boxes type soon. Okay, take a look at the exhaust. The exhaust actually got completely redone. I really wasn't thrilled with how they were running, and I really wasn't thrilled with the valve seat because it had some serious pitting from the detonation. So I did have to sink the exhaust valve seats a little bit. But since the 208s were brand new, I left them as high as I possibly could. So the chamber CC came out right about, I think it was 61, which is good. I think they come from the factory at like 58. I may be wrong with that. That was actually from the AFR website, 58. And after I do my chamber work on it, that's definitely going to open it up a few cc's. So 61 sounds right. Let's take that shot with a little bit of light on it. Even though it's aluminum, I like to put oil on it because the aluminum starts to change color. It gets a little oxidation in it and it looks like crap. Okay, the pitch was opened up about as much as you really could on these. They flow in excess of what we can get out of them. So pinch is not holding us back. Okay, let's see what we can do with this. This is a 208, no back cut. They're up a little bit from last time you guys saw them. Not a huge difference. But I got some decent gains coming down. A couple CFM here and there. But the back cut wound up being a very small back cut. You can only put a tiny back cut on it because of the style valve it is. But it did help, and it brought up my mid-range a little bit, which I was happy about. And right where he's running, we're still around 300 CFM. So with the intake manifold, we got about 288 last time. They're pretty good. I'm pretty happy with them. Now, I did want to talk about how you know you're done. This is something that Charlie has a big problem with. When are you done with the cylinder head? And I think I talked about this one other time. But you're done, well, this is like a rule of thumb from me. You're done when you've got the size about where you want it to be. Now, these ports came out, I wrote 206. I thought it was 205.5. All right, I wrote 206. So they're 206.5 cc's. And the exhaust came out at 69. Oh, I got a 60.5 cc chamber. All right. Now, you get to the point where you really don't want to make the port any bigger. But if you go through and you check your air speeds and you're like, okay, I can change a few things here and there and get my air speeds a little better, and you do, and the air speeds either don't get better or your flow doesn't go up, you're pretty much done. Because at that point, you're making the port bigger, but you're not getting any meaningful gains out of it. So you're losing at that point. Either you have to go in and change a bunch of geometry and make it bigger port to get more flow out of it, or you're going to call it quits. Now, a 206cc intake on a 393, that'll work. That'll be a nice setup. With the giant intake manifold, he's going to pull mid-range really well. And these had really good sound up high, so I expect it to have good top end, a really good top end. Yeah, I probably could have fiddled around and got a few more CFM out of them, but I didn't want to hog the chambers out or anything. Let me pop up an intake and an exhaust in the chamber. You can see how the chamber finished up. Okay, you can see how the valves sit in the chamber. You can see how much de-shrouding I did. I didn't really want to make that chamber any bigger, and I was happy with the air speeds throughout the port. Let's take a look at those. All right, as big as the pinch is, it's pretty fast. As far as the roof, now the air speeds on the right, the 170 and the 175, that's from that little back cut. The little back cut made a big difference in how much air was going around the short side radius. That's why we got a boost in the mid-range. Decent boost in the mid-range. So I was pretty happy with that. Now, take a look at the last numbers for our short side radius speeds. 408, 393, 360. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. And making the port bigger just dropped your cylinder wall number. It really didn't pull any more flow away. So that's when I knew I was done with the short side radius. How about the exhaust? The exhaust needed a full rework. I radiused the top edge of the exhaust valve. I tried it with a back cut, and it lost pretty much everywhere. I mean, big loss. So it doesn't want a back cut on there at all. So that was obviously with a different valve. But as far as air speeds, take a look at the top row, right? Fast. Middle row, fast and pretty darn even. Bottom, except for the center, those outside corners have good speed on them. So that port's moving air pretty efficiently. You know, if we take a look at our exhaust flows, we are going to be, this is the one we need to look at. Okay. So we max out at 700. We're doing 217, but you put a pipe on there and you're 243 and change, which is not bad. You got to remember it's a small exhaust port. I like the small exhaust ports, right? I would much rather have a small fast exhaust port than a big lazy exhaust port any day of the week. Helps your reversion, helps you come up on cam more, and hangs on higher in the RPM range. All important things. Yeah, exhaust port efficiency is really big, guys. And final word is he's going to be hitting these with a 150 shot. So I didn't really change the combustion chamber from the way I would if it was naturally aspirated. I don't feel that 150 shot is worth the losses you're going to get by softening that chamber. Let me know if you agree or disagree with that, guys. Okay, plenty of info on this sheet. No, they're not perfect drawings. They're close though. They're pretty close. Okay. Your port length, 5.19 inches. Your intake throat, 87.9%. See, here I have it written at 205. I thought it was a 205.5 CFM port. That's the number I'm going to stick with. I remember it being 205.5. I just wrote 206 on the other one. Okay, take a look. 208 valve. This picture doesn't look quite right because the solder I use doesn't bend quite right. It looks a little funny. But our throat is 1.83 inches. And I did a quick calculation to see how much flow you can get out of that much area. That's 383.98 CFM if it was 100% efficiency. Okay. Here, our opening 2.191 by 1.355, and our pinch is 1.192 by 1.93. That calculates up. It'll go 327 CFM, but we maxed out at 303. So we're good. We're good as far as the pinch. If you would not, if in order to take that pinch anymore, it really needs tubes. It's maximum thinness on quite a few of them. Okay, this looks a little funny too on this drawing. Same reason. I just couldn't get the solder to bend, but it's pretty close representation of what we got. We got 1.6 valve. You got a 1.372 throat, which is 85.75. My go-to numbers: 88 for your intake, 86 for your exhaust. So these came out pretty close to my numbers that I really like. Okay. Now, those are also numbers for 45-degree seats. These are 45-degree seats. And I did throat area was 1.48 square inches. According to that, you can only get 216 CFM through it. Okay. 216, 217 and change. And then when you put a pipe on it, you get even more. So someone in class is going to say, well, Charlie, that's impossible. And what is Charlie going to say? Well, if you take a good look at it, the way it's designed, right? What is it? It's a bent venturi. Okay? So, and I've explained this on another video, but it's a good point, and a lot of guys just don't get it. And they'll look at that and they'll be like, well, there's something wrong somewhere. No, it's not wrong. Okay? If you design it right, where it's a good venturi, what will happen to the air pressure at your minimum area, which is your throat? The airspeed will go up, so what happens to your pressure according to Bernoulli? It goes down. So instead of blowing 28 CFM, 28 inches of water through it, that point sees a lower depression. It may be 31, it may be 32, I don't know what it is. I mean, we could calculate it and figure it out, but I'm not doing that today. In any case, we can get more than 100% efficiency out of it. Now remember, I did that area, I didn't even remove the area for the valve stem, so it's less than that. Right? It's a good point to make. All right. Let's see. Our point length, 3.14 inches. 69 cc. Relatively small outlet. This outlet size did not change. It's exactly the same size as when I got the heads because he had a nice fit on with the headers. So that's the way they're going to stay. Intake manifold hasn't been changed since last time you've seen it. I bolted everything together. Make sure we have a good amount of anti-reversion edge between the intake manifold and the cylinder head and the gaskets. That all looked pretty darn good. I did have to do a little work on the intake manifold. Let me show you that. Okay, I had to machine this edge on both sides of the intake manifold to even get it to fit, because these heads have this big angled edge and they interfered. So instead of machining this, I don't want to machine that. There's plenty of metal here. I can remove that without too much trouble. So I had to remove that edge even to get them to fit together to check everything. All right, guys. I'm pretty sure this is the last time you guys are going to see these. Hopefully the customer will give us a full report. Oh, I did want to mention one thing. My stuff's going to be stamped. Servideo cylinder head development. Yeah, the D is not really a perfect D. For some reason, my D is in Big Mikey's garage somewhere. So I had to use a C with an I to make a D. And this D represents driver's side, okay? The other head has got a P for passenger side, because it does make a difference as far as how the intake manifold lines up. So, I mean, it really would have been nice if I had a 351 block. I could have bolted it all together and really got it perfect, but I don't have that here right now. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. It was a good project. I think this is going to run really well. Let me know what your opinion of what I did and what I should have changed, because there's always opinions, right? And I'm good with that. You know, as far as like the deck on here, they had needed quite a bit of sanding, because the center cylinders that would naturally run hotter had more detonation damage on both heads. So I had to do quite a bit of sanding. There's a couple spots where I took a little piece of metal out with the burr, but there won't be any problem. All right, guys, if the customer has any questions, just give me a buzz. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for hanging out.